here tonight because you wanted me to be.
I'm glad you came, because I think you're gonna like it. Let's get nuts!
You are so twisted.
Let's face it, you're a knockout.
The Encyclopedia Galactica, in its chapter on love, states that it is far too complicated to define. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy has this to say on the subject of love. Avoid, if at all possible.
All right, there you have it. Welcome to After Hours with yours truly, Sexy Vanessa. Yes, I know you've all been waiting, and indeed, I am here tonight because you wanted me to be. Yes, I gotta say, I love my fans, but you guys have been giving me a lot of heat lately, man. Everywhere I go, whether I'm downtown, at my son's school, wherever it is, I'm seeing fans and they're telling me, hey, why aren't you on the radio anymore? When are you going to do your show? And no lie, I have been talking about this particular show, After Hours, for I'd say a little over a year now. And I just realized one day, I'm getting older and the world is basically coming to an end and I still have lots more to say. So indeed, here we are. And in the words of Ralph Smart, we are about to dive deep. We're going to take a sexy, honest, and intellectual look at sex, love, relationships. We're going to talk health and family, but mostly we're going to talk about sex. All right. That's what it's about, man. Listen, if I'm not mistaken, on our intro there, you guys actually heard Betty White's voice. Yeah, man, I got to say, I love me some Betty White. And as a female entertainer, I want to grow old like her, all right? I'm like 33 now. Yeah, in my mind, I'm like pushing 40. I'm feeling the age. And when I look at her, I mean, this woman is 96 years old and like still getting work. I'm like, really, I just don't understand it, man. I want to be just like that. And it's so funny because the other day I was watching this interview with Megyn Kelly. She has a show and she's interviewing this lady who actually was talking about racial passing, right? She wrote this book on it. And apparently her mother had essentially passed as white her whole adult life, okay? Mind you, she's black. Like on her birth certificate, it says that she's black. But she went up north, got married. I mean, even her husband went to the grave thinking that he married a white woman. Like he had no idea he was down with the swirl, man. I'm telling you, it's absolutely nuts. So I'm watching this and I'm thinking about Betty White and I'm like, man, maybe that's what she's doing because I swear only black don't crack like that, man. It's just gorgeous, sharp-witted as ever. So big ups to Betty White. Thank you for, of course, making the road that much easier for future female entertainers like myself. And hopefully what I'm doing here is going to make it easier for those who come behind me. And right now, before we get too deep into the show, I have to acknowledge my partner in crime and sound engineer, Tino the producer. Yes, we're talking about Street Kings. That's what it's all about. And of course, he's currently looking at me wondering why I'm talking about Betty White when I say the show is all about sex. That those two things didn't quite go together for him. But that's all right, Tino. We're going to ease into it, okay? Yes, just like in the bedroom. We're going to take it slow. That's what we're doing, man. I also have to say a special hello to all of our friends, family, and fans. Of course, all our beloveds in the After Hours chats on Facebook, and especially our WhatsApp group. I would start calling names, but you know how that goes. Yeah, I don't want to be like the awards show where you always forget somebody, all right? So I'm just going to say much love to all of you. Big smooches. And of course, it's all about After Hours 242, okay? Whenever you want to find us online, that's what you search, After Hours 242. And for those of you who don't know, the 242 is actually the area code here, all right? We are broadcasting from the beautiful islands of the Bahamas, and I dare say it is better here, okay? Got to say a big shout out to my friends Karen and her girls over there at Cinia Salon in Carmichael, and of course all of our international listeners. Hello, and welcome. Got to say hi to my friend James and his dog Ollie in Tasmania. They're over there. That's Tasmania, Australia. Yeah, apparently they have bandicoots. I only know that game. You guys remember that Crash Bandicoot? It was a long time ago. It was like, I swear, one of maybe the first video games. But I loved it, man. So big up to James and Ollie over there listening. Of course, my Rumfest roadies, Ken and Alec from NYC. My first crush, Terry Collins in North Carolina. Look at me now, baby. That's what I'm talking about, man. Sexy Vanessa in the place. And of course, all my friends and family back home in Florida, thank you for tuning in. We're going to have a great time. So make sure that you keep up with us, okay? You can follow us on SoundCloud, Facebook, Instagram, and we will be on YouTube as well. We're considering, maybe doing some live stream and video stuff for you guys in the future. So definitely like, us, follow us, and support the vibe, all right? The vibe is the thing for those of y'all who don't know. We talking Bahamian, okay? That's how we do it, man. Now, listen, speaking of all that social media, that is actually the topic for this evening. Yes, man. We are talking about not just social media, but sex and social media. Yeah, okay? See, the sex came in. I told you it was coming, man. Listen, I'll leave that joke alone. Anyway, I'm going to behave, okay? I promise. For the moment, I will behave, all right? Sex and social media is the topic. And, you know, nowadays, social media is almost an integral part of life for many people. I mean, the young especially. By young, I mean, you know, 20-somethings and the teenagers, of course. And even for, you know, the 30-somethings like myself and many of the so-called middle-aged or mature portion of the population, you know, they're using it every day. My mother is 70, and she's on WhatsApp, man. You know, she's doing her thing, and she's forwarding messages and all kinds of spam and stuff. And, you know, it's seriously a part of what I guess everybody is into. It's just that way of life. And, you know, it's funny because for me, I don't think I'm as addicted to it as some of the younger people. And no lie, even some of the older people can get addicted to it. I think, you know, it becomes a thing. You kind of have to have it, right? I'm not so bad. I'd like to think, right? Now, I will admit, I kind of spend a lot of time with my friends in the WhatsApp group and the After Hours 242 group, but we have a lot of fun, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to do better, but it's really a lot of fun. So again, you should join us either on Facebook or on WhatsApp. The link is there. But yeah, I'm different because, you know, when I was growing up, we didn't have WhatsApp and Facebook. I mean, hell, we didn't have computers, man. You know what I mean? That they existed, don't get me wrong, right? But not everybody had a home computer. And as a matter of fact, when you got one, you know, if you guys remember, they would only run like one program at a time. Remember the black screen with the green letters, like C:\\\, like, you know, that's what it was. And I would say the hottest form of communication then would have been like a beeper. Like in 5th grade, I had a beeper. Okay, and I was like the shiz, all right? My classmates, and it wasn't just any beeper. Like this beeper could tell you the freaking weather. It could tell you the sports highlights, all kinds of stuff. Like my mother could send me actual like text through the beeper. Oh, it was like voice to text something through the beeper. It was awesome. It was awesome. Absolutely loved it. And as a matter of fact, I went to Ridgecrest Elementary School, and they told my mother I couldn't have the beeper anymore because apparently only drug dealers had beepers. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that still. That's very judgmental of them. But yeah, moving right along. Yeah, I'm calling you out, Ridgecrest. I'm calling you out, man. I remember that all these years later. But speaking of all these years, like I said, you know, it's been 20 years or so since that time. And that the internet has just completely changed our social landscape. Now, I remember when AOL first came out, okay? That's America Online. And let me tell you something. That was epic, right? We didn't have internet. And we didn't have a computer at home, but my cousins did, okay? And I would go there and, you know, like they let me use the computer and I loved it. And it's so funny, like you would be able to find these chat rooms. I can't even remember, like, I don't know if you had to go to, I guess you had to go to a website. I don't remember how you got there, but you could find these chat rooms. And of course it'd be like tons of people just talking and sending messages back and forth, kind of like how a WhatsApp group is now if you have lots of folks in it. And, you know, everything's just going on so fast. And of course people could actually private chat if they wanted, right? They could like click on your name and like make that little selection and, you know, start a little private conversation. Now, I will confess, this one night I'm by my cousins, right? And it was nighttime, so like I guess they were like watching TV. It's my cousin Rhonda and her husband Don, and my little cousins Ebony and Jabari. Hey y'all, love y'all. So they're watching TV out in the front room, and the computer's in their bedroom, right? So they let me use the computer, and I'm chatting. Okay, I was in the chat room and now somebody's got me in a private chat and we're having this nice little conversation. And, you know, as I recall, I think this guy was like from South Florida. I don't know why that sticks out in my mind, but it does. Maybe I had some great dream of maybe, I guess, going, which is dangerous, man, okay? Like, if you think about the fact that I was doing this way back then without all of this inundation of sex in the media. Imagine what the kids are thinking or trying to do nowadays. You understand what I'm saying? So either way, I'm from Clearwater. That's Tampa Bay area, mid-Gulf Coast. And I'm chatting with this guy. And when, you know, there are no webcams, no nudes or anything like that. Just a regular conversation. Now, I don't think it was sexual. Now, I would say that my cousin's husband, Don, he thought it was, I guess, maybe too flirtatious. Because, yeah, he caught me chatting and he didn't appreciate that, okay? He had a serious problem with that. And he's like, who are you talking to? And I'm like, some guy. And, here comes, like, the heat. And he's there with his Boston accent. And he's, getting on me. And he's like, well, listen, you better tell him you're 13. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you gotta tell him you're 13. And I was like, listen, I am an excellent conversationalist, and I really don't see, right? Like, I'm trying to justify the hell out of it. I'm like, I don't see what my age has to do with this conversation. He's enjoying my conversation. I'm enjoying his. I really don't see this as a problem. And of course, he finally makes me type that I'm just 13. And the guy that I'm talking to online is like, what? Hell no. Have a good night. God bless you. And like, that was it, right? And I was so hurt. I was pissed. I'm not going to lie to you, because it was a really good conversation, man. I was really all about it, right? But to be honest, after that, I would say that was probably my extent of interaction with social media until college. And you guys remember MSN Messenger, right? Now with Messenger, even that was a little different, because you kind of knew everybody. Like, I think you had to add them by their email address or whatever. And again, you knew those people. So it didn't have exactly the same vibe and the feel as what is really going on nowadays, right? Today, social media is just so extensive. I mean, literally, you're given access to millions upon millions of just complete strangers. I'm talking about don't know them from a can of paint. Could be a serial killer, could be the Pope. You really have no idea. Strangers, okay? And likewise, depending on your privacy settings, these folks are given access to you as well. And it's absolutely nuts. I mean, listen, it's a serious issue, because I thought to myself, I want to know how this has changed how we operate. I know it's changed how I operate, I will admit. I won't tell you how it's changed that. We'll talk about that later. But I know that, people are doing things that I guess some would say are out of character, or they're taking risks, sending nudes, doing these things and getting into conversations that they normally wouldn't do, just because you can kind of hide behind the computer, right? And so I thought to myself, you know what, I want to kind of see what's going on here. And I realized, I haven't really encountered much discussion on this topic, on how social media has changed sex, right? So I did some research, right? Now, when I say I did some research, I mean I Googled it, right? It's like, that's basically, I admit, the extent of research that anybody does nowadays. Like, come on, even college students, I'm pretty sure. I mean, they have those bibliographies, but who really takes the time? Do you think the professors read all that? Like, can't be. I wouldn't read all that crap. Like, I'd read your paper, and if it makes sense, I'd give you an A. That's probably why I'm not a professor. Anyway, moving right along, right? I did my research through Google, right? And I found tons of articles on teenagers as it relates to sexuality and social media, but I really didn't find anything on adults. So now I'm a thinking person, right? And there was this one report from Act for Youth that discussed a 2005 study on youth ages 10 to 17. Okay, now that's 2005. This is now 2018. That's 13 years ago, which means those individuals are today like 23 to 30-year-old adults. And assuming that, even those a few of us who would have been a little older than that at the time, probably had similar behaviors, or by now we would have caught up to what the young folks are doing, right? So for that, I'm saying that's sufficient for our conversation, okay? This is the basis of our research. This is not scientific by all means. Please don't come on our social media pages and freak yourself out, all right? It's just a conversation. I put that disclaimer out there now. Listen, first, let's talk about what really went down and what really goes down in the intent, right? Because I think that's the thing. People desire and think about doing a lot of things, but it's not until you kind of have the opportunity to do it that you really think it's a problem. And that's the thing. One of the industries that has, of course, benefited just exponentially from the internet is, of course, porn, right? And this was actually one of the things that the study was talking about. It said that 34% of these young people intentionally, right? And that is important, because if you remember back in the day, remember those pop-ups? Like, you go to different websites and like 10 million porn sites would pop up just because you looked like for lingerie, and like all of a sudden it's like 20 porn sites, right? Okay, so it's not so bad now. But they said then 34% of these young people actually went looking for X-rated material, right? Now, we know again this is because you're comfortable, right? Like, how hard is it? Have you ever been, Tina, you ever been to one of them shop? You ain't never been to one of them shoppy. Any of y'all ever been? Y'all know the shop I talking about. I don't know. I mean, I've heard we have a few here in Nassau, but back home, you know, when you be driving and they'd usually be like off the interstate somewhere, and back home is Clearwater, Florida. And they'd be like off the interstate somewhere, and it's, you know, concrete building kind of deal, and it would have those big like triple X neon lights, you know, like the sex store. Tina's looking at me like he's not gonna say shit. Yeah, the sex store, right? I will admit I've been into one of those, and I will leave that right there, right? But the thing is, going that kind of place, it's like a nerve-wracking kind of thing, right? Like, you're shaky, you don't want nobody to see you there, and, you know, it's icky, man. You don't like that. And so, mind you, some people really like it, but we're not going to talk about those people, right? The average individual, you know, they have an aversion to kind of putting their sexual desires, or even the fact that they are overt with any sort of sexual desire, because obviously we know everybody's having sex. I mean, these kids, they got to be coming from somewhere, right? But it's one of those things that a time ago, not anymore, I'm sure. I mean, Rihanna singing about sex with me is so amazing, right? Does anybody else think that's crazy? Like, to hear that on public radio? I think that's just nuts. I mean, sex with her is probably amazing, like, for real, right? But I don't know if she needs to be telling us that at 8 o'clock in the morning with all the kids going to school. Either way, I digress, right? Again, it was icky going into the shop. With the internet, you don't have that feeling because, like, everything is right there. And, like, nowadays with smartphones, hell, you don't even have to be glued to the computer to get caught by your cousin's husband, you know, because you're chatting with someone. Like, you could go wherever. It's right in the palm of your hand. So much more privacy, so much more accessibility. And, of course, you know, social media is just amplifying this, because now you're not just looking at porn. You actually have the ability to, like, talk to people and connect with people who on the same slick-ish as you are, okay? Like, no matter what your fetish is, no matter what you're into, they got a site for that. And you can find some like-minded folks and probably chat with them and get things going. I mean, it's right there. Everything is literally right at the palm of your hand, okay? Yeah, right at your fingertips. It's there, man. You just can't get away from it. And of course, you know, I want to talk a little bit more about the differences, because, you know, there are dating sites that are meant for this. You know, there are the match.coms and whatnot, and, you know, we'll talk. As a matter of fact, if you stick around at the end, we're actually going to do a little dating site review. Yes, Sexy Vanessa has your back, okay? We got some reviews, and these are not look it up a review, okay? This is firsthand experience. I went in the trenches for you all to give you a real look at what it's like being online and trying to use some of these dating sites, okay? So I promise that to you by the end of the podcast, all right? So stick around, of course. That's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, you know, in addition to that, I realized that nowadays people are even using regular social media. And by regular social media, I mean social media that was really just meant to be social, okay? Platonic media, let's call it that, right? People are using platonic media like Facebook, like WhatsApp, for, you know, some serious sexual purposes, okay? And I mean, for me, especially recently, I've really seen how people can use, you know, again, these so-called above board social media applications, not just as a means to find dates, but as a means to moreover kind of get a chance at some virtual sex, man. Yeah, listen, I did the research. I'm telling you, I believe that for a lot of people, that's what it's about, all right? And I mean, even here, listen, we had this Snapchat thing, and I'm spilling the beans. Yes, Lord. I don't know if y'all remember that whole mango season situation. Y'all know about mango season? Anybody? Does anyone here think mango season is just a fruit? Yeah, we asked people about that, right? I'm gonna get to that in a minute. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you now, man. Listen, we did a poll, and apparently 58% of those Bahamians that we polled knew about mango season. And this was like a Snapchat down low, like amateur porn kind of thing. Like people just sending in videos of them doing all kind of things. You understand? Like really some serious stuff, man. Some serious, like, raw, just amateur porn, and these are local people, man, and they're doing this. And you know, they started promoting this WhatsApp group, and it was funny because, you know, I didn't really know about it. people always ask me, as a matter of fact, Big L, big shout out to Big L. He used to ask me, because he always thought I was very disconnected from certain things that were going on, I guess, with young people in society. And his thing is, like, you're young. Like, why you come like you's an old head? You know what I mean? And I realized that I'm just not, I don't know, maybe I'm just too focused on myself. I don't know, but I didn't know some of these things, man. I really didn't know. And it's so funny because I was at the shop with my friend Jackie. Hey, Jackie, love you, baby. I was at her shop. And this guy comes up, he's trying to talk to me, you know, and he's a crazy guy. He sells oil. I don't know if anybody knows him, but, you know, he's a little, so anyhow, he comes up and he's trying to talk to me, and he's like, you know, oh, give me your number. And I was like, you know when you want to like play it off? Guys, I don't know if you understand how much work we as women put in to being nice sometimes. Now, I know some of us are just, you know, real wretched people and we're just mean. But, you know, the good ones, we try to let you down easy, all right? And so I didn't want to embarrass him. Other people are around. And so I'm like, listen, I know you have a girlfriend. You know what I mean? You don't need my number. You got a girl. And he's like, oh, no, my girl is mango season. And I was like, what? What does that even mean? And then he proceeds to tell me about this whole, like, low-key rent-a-hoe service. And I was just, I know, right? Like, yeah, I was absolutely shocked. I couldn't believe it. But it made me realize, right? Because, mind you, this is why they say that a secret is kept between three people once two of them are dead. Yeah, you can only do these things so long before it comes out. Even the Bible tells you that what's done in dark will come to light. But it's crazy because, you know, we joke about it and we laugh about it, but it is a serious indicator as to what's going on with our social values. And, you know, it kind of makes the joke a little bittersweet because, you know, these things are happening. And again, I don't believe I'm the only one who's kind of unaware. I think there are lots of people unaware. The other thing is, I think there are lots of people who are aware and are participating in it. And, you know, it's interesting because it can actually literally change, because it's facilitating, right? It can change the level of, or the extent to which a person is willing to go to achieve sexual gratification, right? Because now there's so much more you can do. And again, you can do these things in secret, right? Okay, so all that aside, reading the same report, Act on Youth, right? They discussed some research literature that found that about 10% of youth, this time ages 10 to 19, okay? So now again, 10 to 19, 13 years ago, these people are what, 23 to 30. I'm sorry, I had a senior citizen moment, right? These people would now be 23 to like 32, right? That sounds about right. We're going to say that's about right. Listen, it's an after hours show, okay? We don't have any calculators. All right. These same people, these same youth who are now adults, they were, of course, engaged in what we call sexting, right? That's SEXTING, okay? Sexting. And, of course, what that involves is sending sexually explicit messages, all right? Photos, nudes, that kind of thing. And, again, these are people who are now adults. And, you know, it seems that nowadays sexting is like the name of the game. Now, I missed a lot of stuff, okay? I met my son's dad when I was 19. He and I were together for 6.5 years, separated for 3, together again for 3.5 years, right? Cohabiting. So, you know, most of my adult life, I was in a committed relationship, man. I missed this stuff. And when I got back into the dating world and realized that everyone was just so, I guess, thirsty, as we call it, it was really a shock, man. You know, it's crazy to think how far people are willing to go, right? Now, I will say, for me, the sexting thing, I ain't too much about that life, all right? And no, I'm not really into having no whole, you know, cyber sex situation because, you know, to be honest, when I was growing up, we had these things called hotlines, right? And people would call them and they would pay for explicit conversations. Now, I work in media. Okay, and I know I've always had a sexy voice. In fact, in 7th grade, I will confess, this was at, this would have been at Seminole Middle School over there in Seminole, Florida. 7th grade, we have this project in like our social studies class, right? Not a project, but like an assignment. We're supposed to write down what we, I guess, aspire to be in the future, or what we think we'd be good at. And so all my little horny friends, because that's what 7th graders are, right? Horny little bastards. All of them are telling me, hey, you know, you got a sexy voice. You should be a phone sex operator. And I'm thinking, like, okay, how do I like write this? Tina, the kids were serious. I'm like, how do I draw that? How am I supposed to illustrate that? Like, what am I supposed to draw? The family jewels on a phone? Like, I don't understand why y'all want me to do that. That's a terrible thing. But of course, we got a good laugh out of it. And like I said, you know, I know I sound sexy. And when I talk to guys, yeah, they say I sound sexy. But buddy, I'm not going to sit there going through all this plots and storylines. You know, I mean, I tell people, listen, I charge like $60 for a 30-second voiceover. You can't pay me to make up a story to run you hot. Like, I'm just not, I'm not about that life, man. But it seems that that's what a lot of people are into, man. Yeah, it's like they need, you know, bedtime for baby. That would be a good app, you know, Tino. Okay, they have these apps, right? Little sidebar. They have these apps where it's like meditation, and you could listen. It has like, you know, different tracks and stuff that you could listen to like go to sleep or just to, you know, chill out, whatever, breathing techniques, all sorts of stuff, right? Well, these dudes who want like all this phone sex, like you could do an app where you just like record explicit conversations, and then they just subscribe to the app and listen to them for them damn selves. Because who really has time to talk that over and over again? It should be like, listen, I want to go to heaven, okay? So I'm not going to write it. I'm not going to do it. But that's $1 million idea. So if you do it, let me know. You know, cut me and Tino a check. We'll be very grateful. But yeah, man, it seems like that is really what people are into. And it's crazy because the willingness of men, I think, at least again in my experience, right, and in my research for this episode, the willingness of men to kind of go there and blatantly try to engage you in, you know, phone or cyber sex during a supposed getting to know you process, again, I think it's like a key indicator of the level of seduction that we face in today's society. I mean, you know, you can't be in a regular WhatsApp group nowadays, it seems, without like somebody sliding in the DM. And again, while some guys are really just nice people and you can have really great conversations and they'll be completely normal and respectful, you know, a lot of the behavior of other guys it's truly predatory, you know? And it's funny because I don't think guys realize that like girls talk as much as they do. I mean, I think guys talk more than us. We'll have a show about that as well. Because guys do gossip. I don't care what anybody tells you. I think guys are far worse just sit in a barbershop, all right? Far worse than a beauty salon. But, you know, these guys, they'll talk to so many different females in the group. And again, it's like when you really analyze their behavior, for a lot of guys, it's just predatory. You know what I mean? It's really predatory. And so, you know, I will admit, we were talking in the After Hours 242 group the other day, and it was brought up that not only are the guys predatory, but a lot of the guys feel that the girls are predatory. Because, mind you, while they might not be preying on the guys for sex, apparently a lot of these girls are preying on the guys for sex for money. So they willing to give up the nanny once you give up that cash. And that's a whole different level of predator there too, right? Because that's a dangerous thing too, man. Because again, you're facilitating and encouraging this kind of thirst, you know, in our men, and I think that's dangerous. You know, we should not encourage male depravity. It's a vicious cycle. So now, you know, the whole thing is screwed, pun intended, right? The whole thing is just completely jacked up. Oh, I got some more. I got good jokes. All right, guys, listen, I'm going to behave. Okay, it's later in the show now, but I'm gonna do my best. All right, I promise to try, right? That's all you're gonna get from me. I promise to try, right? But as I said, you know, it's I'm trying not to make another joke, and yet all the words seem to fit. But, you know, it's out of order, man. Things are not going the way they ought to, right? We'll say it like that. And it's so funny because, again, another poll we did asking Bahamians if they think that, you know, WhatsApp has become the new Dowswell Street in terms of, again, this kind of solicitation of sex for money. And the reason I say like Dowswell Street, for those of you who don't know, our international listeners who maybe, you know, have never traveled in those parts, you know, it's the area where you could, you know, find a lady for the evening. Well, I don't know if she'll be a lady, but you can find her and you could probably have her for an hour or too. Money gotta make, honey. I understand they roll you out, man. You can't lay up and cuddle around there. Oh Lord. See, I told you I could only promise to try, man. I am not being very successful right now. But the reason that I said like that is because, again, it's not just guys looking for sex. It's these women out there as well who are interested in trading their sexual favors for cash and are likewise using social media to facilitate this. And so we did the poll to find out what Bahamians thought about that. And 56% said yes, while 44% said no. They don't think that WhatsApp is the new Dowswell Street here. And I'm convinced that the 44% who said no are either like undercover whores themselves, or they're just, they could be, who just trying to like stay on the low and don't want nobody to talk about it, you know what I'm saying? Or they just really have no idea how social media is being used in many cases, because again, I too was in the dark, okay? I too was like, no. So no, what do you mean? What do you mean WhatsApp is the new Dows? What? No, solicitation. Like, what do you mean? They're just selling this stuff right on. Yes, okay, it is happening, and I believe it's really happening even more than I realize at this point, right? And my eyes are like wide open. Boy, I went to say something. Lord, I'm trying. Y'all have no idea how difficult this topic is for me. So many wonderful things to say. After Hours 242. Check us for the after hours conversation. All right. Again, we're on Facebook. On Facebook, you could also find the WhatsApp link to get in that daily conversation. Join from anywhere in the world. It's really good stuff. Okay, that's where we'll have all the jokes that I don't want to share here. Yeah, because I want us to have fun. And I want everyone to enjoy it, but I do want everyone to enjoy it, and it's good to kind of be lighthearted, but we are talking about serious things, and sex is serious. I take my sex very seriously. You guys have no idea. Whew. All right, listen. So back to the poll. Lord, look at that, another joke. Okay, back to the poll we did on Facebook, the Facebook poll. Again, person's not thinking that WhatsApp is the new Dowswell Street. But again, I feel, a lot of whoring is going on. And to be honest with you, a lot of these groups are even driven by sex and slackness. That's what they want. I mean, I've been in a group before where you wake up first thing in the morning and it's porn. Like, they're sending you, why are you sending porn videos at like 6 a.m. Bro, did you not sleep? Like, what the hell is going on? I don't need to see that, okay? Like, I'm not into that. And like Yo Gotti says, if that's what's going on in the group, then you can understand it goes down in the DM, okay? If that's what they're comfortable doing in the group to let you know what they're into, then, all these people who are, again, on that like-minded, same slick-ish, they're hooking up, man. The hookups are happening, okay? From the phone sex to the nudes to the actual hookups. I mean, again, there are people out there, and I would say, even persons like myself, we're single, and yes, we would like to genuinely meet someone and enjoy an actual relationship, but a lot of it is really just people who are being allowed to secretly play into their base desires, all right? Now, some may say no harm, no foul, but to be honest, it's really, in my opinion, breeding sexual addiction. And in fact, I spoke to my great friend, Dr. Macomba Miller. He's agreed to stop by every now and again to talk to us about some of these things, sexual health especially. And I think we're going to talk about sexual addiction too, because it's a serious issue. Now, I know a lot of us just couldn't understand it back in the day, those of you who are old enough to remember. Eric Benet, remember, he said he had like a sexual addiction and that's why he frigged up his marriage with Holly Berry. Like, how do you frig up a marriage with Holly Berry? I'm a girl and I wouldn't frig up a marriage with Holly Berry. You understand? Like, I would do everything in the world. And like, and he was so sexy with his barefooted self singing on stage and stuff. They seem like the perfect couple. And yet you must realize that if he could mess up a marriage with Holly Berry on account of so-called sexual addiction, that, to me, that's just evidence that sexual addiction is real, okay? Because again, that could not have been his goal. How is he doing? Does anybody know? Has anyone heard from Eric Benet? Please put it in the comments. We'd like to find out how that sexual addiction has turned out for him, all right? But again, it becomes an addiction when in a situation like that where, he's messed up his marriage. And again, we're making jokes and laughing, but it's a serious issue. And when it's messing up relationships, when it affects your work, when you're making decisions in your day-to-day life that cause you to kind of put yourself at more risk than you usually would, that's when you know you're at that level of addiction. And even on that topic, we took another poll. Yeah, all I got is polls, man. Come like a strip around here. Listen, we took another poll asking Bahamians if they believe that sexual addiction is a growing issue here in the Bahamas. And this poll was surprising because even though they may not believe it's going down in the DM, they do know it's going down somewhere, because 78% said yes, they believe sexual addiction is a growing problem. And again, I don't think it's just a problem here in the Bahamas. I think this is a worldwide issue. We mentioned Rihanna earlier. The sex with me is so amazing. Like, there's so much sexual inundation from the media. It's really, it's hard for people not to become sexually just, I don't know what to call it. Crazed? Is that what it's a sexual craze, man? That's what it is. They're like, berserk for sex. They're just like, they need it, they gotta have it, and they're gonna get it by any means necessary. And it's so funny because I was chatting with my friend Timothy up there in North Carolina, and I've been to the movies the other night to see that Tyler Perry movie, Acrimony. Listen, if you haven't seen it, you got to see it. Awesome movie. I would recommend anyone to see it. The ending a little crazy, but it is definitely a great film. I would dare say maybe Tyler Perry's greatest to date. Okay, it is really, really that good. I like Tyler Perry well enough, but some of his stuff, yeah. Sorry, Tyler Perry, I love you still, but yeah, this one was really great, right? And a guy had taken me out. It was just a friendly date, nothing romantic had transpired between he and I. It was just, hey, let me take you on a date. And so we go to the movies, and of course, by the end of the night, a proposition was made. And I'm telling my friend in North Carolina this, and he says to me, he's like, what? He's like, what do you mean a proposition? I was like, well, the question was put forth if I'd like to, get my jollies. And he's like, well, on the first date. And I was like, yeah. And him asking that made me realize that we are so desensitized as a culture to our sexual value that, to be honest, many guys discuss sex with a female like before you ever even go on a date, okay? This is why I'm always home, right? Because it's like, listen, if you trying to get some before you even took me on the first date, this is clearly going to be a problem, all right? But, this wasn't always the case. There was a time when there were boundaries, and you kind of, you looked forward to having to get to know the person in order to enjoy them in that way. And, it's funny because I remember when I was in college, I was probably about 17 at the time, and my friend Kimberly Ramming, hey Kim, love you honey, she actually set me up with this guy, Ian. Nice guy, right? I liked Ian. Handsome guy, gentleman, well-bred, just absolutely loved him. And, well, I didn't love him, but you understand, he was a really nice guy. And, it was very fitting. He was young. I think he was only like 20. I was like, I might have been, I was like 17, 18 at the time. So, it was nice. It was really nice. And he took me on a date, went to Outback Steakhouse, which was very nice, down at the foot of the bridge. It's not there anymore. They're now moved. But we went to Outback Steakhouse when it was at the foot of the bridge here in Nassau. And afterwards, we went to the Atlantis Aquarium. And, I was a fresh American girl. When I say fresh, hold on. I don't mean fresh like that. I mean, I'd only been in Nassau for maybe a year or so at the time. And so it was different. It was the first real date I'd been on since I'd been in Nassau, and I really enjoyed it. And when he dropped me off, I gave him a good night kiss. And I will admit, we were both appropriately nervous. We played coy and all that, but the kiss was really sweet. And I remember very distinctly telling Kim about this the next day, telling her all about the date and about this good night kiss. And Kim was like, what? You guys kissed? Like, on the first date? And I was like, yeah, like, I mean, for me, that part wasn't a surprise. I mean, maybe I was a fast American girl, maybe, I'm not sure. But, Kimberly was shocked. To her, that was just, I guess, maybe unheard of. I'm not certain. But I realized that now, some 15 years later, now, like, guys are bold enough not just to want sex, all right? Because we know We know they want it. That's not a question. But they are bold enough to straight up ask for it. And in some cases, get all money haul on you and be all, let's make a deal. That's like what they're into. And it's really commonplace. Either way, the expectations of intimacy, AKA the thirst, right? It's real. And yes, I'm not just saying the guys, because I could feel the guys now being like, hey, this podcast really isn't for me. Like we say, it's on both sides, man. And social media is simply allowing persons to find ways to have sex outside of what we would consider, traditional healthy practices. With that being said, we know that social media isn't bad in and of itself. And in fact, there are a lot of actual dating sites, like I mentioned earlier, where there are real people looking for love. But even there, you gotta sift through it, man. And we talked about this in After Hours 242. And while a few of our members said yes, they have tried different dating sites, to be honest, the ones that had tried, the guys felt that the women wanted money, as we mentioned before. And the ladies who tried really pointed out the same thing that I was talking about, which was, this desire to have phone sex or cyber sex. And, in my research for this episode, I promised it to you. Here it comes. I went in the trenches, like I said. I got down and sometimes dirty. Sometimes, only a little dirty, right? Just for you all, so we could really see what's going on with these dating sites, okay? Especially for people living here in the Bahamas, because, I think it must be easier for people in the U.S. My friend Tasha, she lives in the States, and, she's used dating sites before. And I think it's easier. Well, she's back and forth, I should say. But, it's easier because you have more people to choose from. And to be honest, I think dating over there is easier in general. Here in the Bahamas, here we have a population of about 500,000. They say less than 500,000, but anyway, we won't get into the political issues. We have, a relatively small population, and like half of them like are children. And then the other half, out of them, half of them like married or not marriable. That's not a word, but you understand what I'm saying? So it's like the dating pool is very, very shallow. And I myself have, dove in, buck my head, you understand? And I don't want that for you all. I want you all to have it a little bit easier. Those of you who are still looking, if you're married, please, you can cut off the podcast now. This portion is not for you, okay? This is for the singles who are trying to wade through the seas of local dating, all right? Now, I checked them out. Now, I will be honest. When I was in my 20s, I signed up for this site, AFF, right? You hear me? I'm getting quieter, right? Yeah, that could tell you how bad it is. Listen. AFF, Adult Friend Finder. Now, yeah, I said it. Adult Friend Finder. Really, you should be able to figure that out from the name. And I will say, like I said, I tried it when I was in my 20s. And it was cool then. Because you could kind of and you could still now choose if you want to see the explicit material or not. But I met someone from that site before and we're good friends and it worked out well. Like they were a real person and everything. But now that I'm older, okay, that was the first site I went to research for you all. And I'm not going to lie. Like I signed up with my profile and then like I tried to take the profile down because I was just like, too much sex. I couldn't take it. And I have a whole kid. Okay. I know how these children arrive, but I'm just saying it was just, I'm getting hot right now just talking about it. It was too much. It was all videos and webcams and oh my gosh, it was just really, really out there. And it was terrible because I tried to like delete the profile and I don't know what I did, but somehow I made the people suspicious of me and they're like, oh, your profile is now locked. And I was like, well, does that mean that my information is still there or not? And so I actually had to like call the company and yes, I went through all of this for you, okay? This was my real on-the-ground research. And yeah, apparently my information has been deleted. Thank you very much, AFF. But yeah, with that one, guys, listen, I wouldn't recommend it if you're looking for real people. Now, if you're one of them sex crazed people, child, go and pray about it. I can't advise you to go there either because, yeah, they definitely have you on, yeah, they're facilitators, all right? No more AFF for me. That was, like I said, in and out, a quickie. It was done, okay? So, moving right along. Some of the more successful experiences that I had. Now, I had a friend tell me about Afro romance. And I signed up for that one, and that was kind of cool. With Afro Romance, you know, you could see other users' profiles, and you know, they have the messaging features and all of that. But I didn't find that the users were very active, or at least not with me. Okay, like I mean, I got a few. Like, is there something wrong with me, Tina? You see how good I look? As Anderson would say, do you see how good I look, man? Listen, I don't know what happened, right? But they were not up to the mark, I think. So that one was kind of slow in going. I got one guy that messaged me, but he was kind of weird. He was over the top, you know, and he spoke in like 3 different languages and like 3 different messages. So it was like, you know what, bro, I can't with you. All right. So Afro Romance, I haven't deleted that, but I probably should. I don't think that's going anywhere. I will say though, I stumbled upon greatness, and you know, again, this is for the single folks who may be interested in trying, and mind you, I'm just trying to prove to you that it's not all like what we were talking about earlier, where the sex crazed, you know. There are, again, these genuine sites where people are genuinely trying to find love and find relationships. And I think, what is it, Match.com, that says now, you know, what, 4 out of 5 relationships start online or some foolishness like that. I don't know if that's actually true, but, you know, it sounds probable. And so, you know, this is what I'm doing. I'm trying to, you know, balance it out for you guys. So the greatness upon which I stumbled was blackcupid.com. Now, Black Cupid was awesome. Okay, why was Black Cupid awesome? Well, the first thing was I signed up. You know, I put up some pictures, nice pictures, not naughty pictures. And when I look, I got a free freaking upgrade. I had a free freaking platinum membership, man. And I think, because if I'm not mistaken, I think that's why I had success with AFF in the past, because it seemed like once you were a female and you started to get active on the site, they would give you like a free upgrade. And once you upgrade, then you could message people. But without an actual membership, like everything is so restricted that it kind of doesn't even make sense to be on the site, you know? So Black Cupid, thank you very much, Black Cupid, for my free membership. I love you guys so much. And that worked well. You know, I can message people. They got like a chat feature and stuff. And then they have all these like affiliate sites. So, you know, if Black Cupid isn't your thing, right? Maybe you're not down with the swirl, or maybe you know, looking for something else. They got like Malaysian Cupid. They got like Christian Cupid if you want, you know, like a religious experience. And Lord, somebody asked why do women always say Jesus, Jesus, Jesus? I can't explain that, okay? We'll talk about that in another show. But I don't think that's the religious experience you're talking about. I think they want, you know, something wholesome. You know, they have all these things, and it's really interesting because, again, it shows you that the same way on the dark side, where you can kind of find a site for every fetish, you can likewise find sites for, you know, the type of people that you're looking for. They got like interracial Cupid, you know what I mean? They got like Hong Kong Cupid if you're down with the Asian swirl, you know what I'm saying? Like they got all these things, right? So it was really cool. Like I say, you can actually check out the profiles that they have, and it seemed that the users were so active. That was the great thing. Now, they also had filters, okay? So once you put in your criteria of what you're looking for, the only messages that come directly to your inbox are those people who fit your criteria, right? Which is cool. And then you have filtered messages. Well, I mean, I don't know if you get filters if you're free. Like, you may really have to sign up. But see, I have a platinum membership. So, okay, honey, you understand? I have filters. So the filtered messages, I'm a boss. Y'all don't understand this. It was really exciting, right? With the filtered messages, these are people who don't exactly fit your criteria, but are still interested and have sent you a message for one reason or another. And I will say, you know, one of the things that I actually appreciated about the site, just looking at it again from the research standpoint, not just the fun of it, was the fact that they had tons of tips on how to stay safe, right? So they're telling you, like, don't give away your bank account information, you know, if a user is harassing you, this is what you do, that is what you do. So, you know, that part was really good as well. And that's really necessary. You have to remember as we talk about this, and especially, you know, for the younger folks who are listening, and even the older folks, you know, folks, I think a lot of people don't understand how the internet really works, and how information is so easily stolen, identity theft, these kinds of things. So I really have to say I appreciated that Black Cupid was very serious about letting you know how to use their site safely, right? That was very important. And again, they have, I mean, military singles, Afro introductions, the list just goes on and on with the types of Cupid sites that they have, right? And I understand they're actually based in Australia down there with my friend James and his dog Ollie. Well, not in the same place, but you understand, in the same country. So very cool on that point. And like I said, I think that was the best site experience that I had in doing this research, okay? And I was on the site for a couple weeks. As a matter of fact, yes, I will admit, I still have my profile there. Don't go looking for it, but you understand? I am still there. And again, not everybody who will come across your path will necessarily be those thirsty people. And you don't have to respond to the people, you know what I mean? You do have some people who will really just strike up nice conversation. And to me, that's the social part that has been lacking in some of the social media lately, So that part is really enjoyable. Another site I checked out, Seeking Arrangement. It's like a sugar daddy thing. Yeah, that didn't go so well. I don't know, but the sugar daddy, it's like supposedly like millionaires or, well-off guys who are looking for women, like sugar babies. And apparently there's some sugar mamas on the site too, like who are looking for guys to treat, Now, clearly this could be more superficial. They're looking for people who look a particular way, and they have, like, the ones who are serious have, like, weird demands about, like, your measurements and this and that, and, your nose must be at this angle, and it's friggin' weird, right? And then you have some people in there who just seem really sad. It seemed like, okay, you have money, but why are you so sad? And then I will say I've also gotten some strange things, because people would say, oh, well, you're nice, but you're so far. The Bahamas. I'm like, what do you mean the Bahamas is so far? Like, you live in Florida, dude. What the frig? What do you mean? Like, do you not have a map? Like, did you not take geography in school? And again, these people are supposed to be, like, if not millionaires, gosh darn close to it, executive level people. And it's like, first of all, it's not even expensive, because trust me, if homegirl over there, but, broke people just go Miami and rich people just go Florida, right? She's go Florida, right? Obviously, it's not that expensive to travel between the Bahamas and Florida. So why these so-called well-off people in Florida are telling me how I look so great in my pictures, but, the Bahamas is so far. That's why I say I guess they just don't know where it is, man. Either way, with that one, like I say, that was kind of, it was weird, I did chat with one guy who was an author, an adventure author. And he was cool. It was nice, but we didn't have like any connection, I don't think. It was more so I think I was interested in his craft and the fact that he writes, you know what I mean? That was kind of cool. Overall, I would say, to sum it all up, like I said, the Black Cupid experience was my best experience. I will confess, I actually had one really great date that I went on with somebody that I met from Black Cupid. And yes, that is dangerous. I could hear the gasps now. Oh my God, she met someone online. But it is a Bahamian fellow, and he's very nice, very respectful, and he actually turned out to be an older brother to a friend of mine, which was crazy. So, I wouldn't say that we hit it off overall. Like, to be friends, sure. But, we're not like talking now or anything like that. It was just a really nice date. And to me, it was more so what I expect from a gentleman. And, going back to like the date I experienced going to Outback and Atlantis when I was younger with Ian, it was just a proper date, and that's why I say, overall, that was the best experience with the Black Cupid site. And, to be honest, I would really like to find out more about other people's experiences with these sites. Are you too finding that, guys are just trying to get some phone sex out of you, and they'll chat you up, and then, once you say a couple randy things to them, then, they're all good and they're on to the next person to try? Or are the guys finding that these females are like all in their pockets and like straight up soliciting them? They're more aggressive than they are. What are you guys experiencing? That's what I want to know. I want to know how you guys feel about it, how you guys feel about the dating sites. I want to know how you feel about the Facebook groups. I want to know how you feel about the WhatsApp groups. What's going on there, okay? It's sex and social media, right? That's what it is. So by all means, let us know how you feel. Check us out to let us know. You can just leave comments, right, on any of our social media accounts. Again, give us a like and a follow. You can send us your comments and even your questions, okay? You can inbox me on Facebook at More Sexy Vanessa. You can actually find me all over Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at More Sexy Vanessa, okay? That's my handle there. And of course, for the show, it's at After Hours 242. You can see us Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course on SoundCloud. So by all means, if you want to get in touch with me on Facebook, you can send me a private message. You can like my page as well, Sexy Vanessa, and we will keep you anonymous. If you have questions, that's no problem at all. And I'd really like for us to, get in, even if you want to share a story and be kept anonymous, but it's a really cool story, by all means, God say share your jokes, okay? So let us know what you've experienced on the dating scene. And of course, right now, I think I've bent your ear enough for today, don't you think? It was fun though. Yeah, I have to say, thank you so much for tuning in, man. Yeah, I had a really great time. Definitely looking forward to lots and lots more great conversations with you. And who knows, we may even get some meet and greets out there, do some social things, and maybe even get a few of my international listeners to come visit us here in the Bahamas. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Yeah, man, I'm working on it, all right? I think that would be good for you guys. It'll be a great time. It's always better here, and it's truly paradise, man. The most beautiful place on Earth, even from space, okay? The astronauts will tell you that. So again, check us out on social media. Talk to us about sex, right? Sex, love, life, relationships, all of that. We want to hear from you. Big shout out to Tina, the producer, and Street Kings. And of course, we will continue this conversation in the next